Well, hello there. Today is Tuesday, January 11th, 2022, and Mr. Alexander has a sore throat and 3 kids who tested positive yesterday. So I got to stay home, as I said in the message. But so we're going to start reviewing. We're going to put the unit on functions on hold while I'm out, and we're going to start reviewing for the final because there will be a final test in the class. And today we're going to talk about just some of the main concepts for solving equations. So I'm going to solve 2 equations for you so I can review some of the concepts. I encourage you to write these down in your notebook, as well as the check that we're going to do here. And then there's 12 problems for you to practice when we're done with the video. So we have to solve for x in this first problem, and I know that you all know that we draw this line here to keep the 2 sides separate. And we got to sort of clear things away from the x. And so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do the distributive property. And one thing I wanted to review today was how to deal with these fractions. So I'm supposed to do 4/3 times 2x. Well, that's like 4/3 times 2x over 1, and we just multiply straight across. So 4 times 2 is 8x, and 3 times 1 is 3. So we have like 8/3 times x. And then 4/3 times 9, well, if I do, we can do 4 times 9 and then divide that by 3, but I've shown you about cross-canceling. So I can do 9 divided by 3 first. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, so what I did so far is I just distributed that 4/3 through the entire thing. And now the next step that I think we should do is probably to combine these 2 terms that are alike. So I have 8/3 x, and then 12 minus 10, it's positive 12. Minus 10 is positive 2. And so we're getting closer to the solution, and I think you know what to do now. You should subtract 2 from each side. So I have 8/3 x equals 72. And then some of you might be trying to remember, like, how do you get rid of this 8/3 here? So I'm going to remind you that what you do is you multiply by the reciprocal. So 8/3 times 3/8, if I think about it a couple different ways, 8 times 3 is 24, and 3 times 8 is also 24. And of course, 24 times 24, divided by 24 is just a 1. Because what I want this to be is not 8/3 x, but just 1x. I could also just have cross-canceled. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 8 divided by 8 is 1, and 1 times 1 is 1. In any case, what we have to do is multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 8/3, which is 3/8. So I'm going to multiply both of these equations by 3/8, and I get to cancel out all of the fractions here. Now, on this side, I think I can do 72 divided by 8 first. 72 divided by 8 is 9, and 9 times 3 is 27. So it seems that our solution is that x equals 27. But I do want you to go back and check your solutions today as well. And recall that the way that we do that is we take the solution that we found, 27, and we're going to plug it in anywhere that we see an x in the original equation, the one that was typed out, not some other version that I converted to, but the original equation. So I'm going to rewrite this first equation here, but I'm going to substitute a 27 in place of the x. So 4/3 times 2 times 27 plus 9 minus 10. And I'm asking a question. Is it equal to 74? If it is, then it seems that I've done my work correctly. So let's follow the order of operations, which says first I should do the parentheses. But of course, inside the parentheses, there's multiplication here. So 2 times 27 is 54. And I just rewrite the whole problem after that. And then 54 and 9 is 63. So I've now taken care of the parentheses. And I'm going to multiply next. Now 63 divided by 3 is 21. And 4 times 21 is 84. And things are looking good, aren't they? Because 84 minus 10 does, in fact, equal 74. So I put a check mark here showing that my solution checks out. Let's do one more example. And I made this one a little bit more challenging. So there's fractions on both sides. There's variables on both sides. And we do have to follow a lot of the same steps. So the first thing that we should do here in example 2, you can pause the video if you need to copy it down. But then we're going to multiply we're going to do the distributive property, but we need to do so on both sides. So 1/2 times 5 is 5/2. And 1/2 times negative 18, that's a positive times negative, is negative 9. And again, it's 5/2 because 5 times 1 and 2 times 1, right? We're just multiplying straight across. Then on the other side, 1/3 times 10 is 10/3. And then 1/3 times 3 is, luckily, it's just a regular old 1. Now I'm going to, let's see, combine like terms. So I have a -9 and a +3. -9 plus 3 is -6. So this side simplifies to 5 halves x minus 6 equals 10/3 x minus 1. And that's pretty ugly. Now, I can think of a few ways to tackle this, but I wanted to use this video as a chance to review some fraction stuff. But before I even get into that, let's get rid of this 6 here. Let's add 6 to each side. So that's gone, and I have 5 halves x equals 10/3 x. -1 plus 6 is +5. We're always doing the opposite. And so now that I have x's on each side, I'm going to have to, let me give myself a little room here, collect all the x's onto the left-hand side here. And that's a +10/3 x, so I'm going to subtract 10/3 x. And I'll do so from each side. And so I'm supposed to do 5 halves x minus 10/3 x. And I think all of you know that in order to subtract fractions, we need to find a common denominator. And so I'm going to multiply this one by 3/3, and I'll multiply this one by 2/2. And the reason I'm doing that is because it'll turn into 15 over 6 x minus 20/6x. They have a common denominator, and then I just do 15 minus 20 is -5/6x. Okay, so I had to find the common denominator and then subtract. And then finally, we're going to finish this off by multiplying by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of -5/6 is -6/5. And I'll multiply this side by -6/5. The 5's cancel. Isn't that nice? And so it turns out that x equals -6. At least that's what it seems to be. Let's go ahead and check our solution now. Going back to the original equation, I'll write 1/2 times 5 times -6. I'm substituting -6 everywhere I see the letter x. And so I have to do so on the other side as well. Okay, so now let's start seeing if these two sides are the same. It's a question right now. Is this true? So 1/2 times, let's see, 5 times -6 is -30. And then -30 minus 18 is -48. So I did the parentheses first. Next, I would multiply. 1/2 times -48 is -24. And -24 plus 3 is -21. So I know that the left-hand side should equal -21. Let's see if the right-hand side checks out. So let's see. 10 times -6 is -60. -60 minus 3 is -63. And then let's see. 1/3 times -63. I'm just dividing it by 3, and I get -21. Checks out. Now, the problems that you'll find on Schoology are, some of them are quite challenging. You're just going to have to do your very best. I'll see you tomorrow, and I'll post the answers tomorrow as well. But just do your best to finish that work today, and stay well. Keep your mask on. I miss you.